young all the way through that contract, and it's all exciting, and knowing him, being around him every day, I'm very happy for him too.
You know, you've spoken so much about him in some of his tough times, and you had so much confidence going behind him. How did you see that develop from where he was then to where he got to last year?
Boy, you know, he was a player that you could see, as a coach, you back these type of people. Extremely talented, too hard on himself, you know, living and dying, but dying more in the moment, because he just cares. You can care too much, and what I mean by too much, it puts extra pressure on you, and that's Rasmus. That's a lot of competitive guys, and he's a very competitive guy. So, you know, for me, just thought, you know, the more support we could provide him, the more skill and talent we would see rise, and you know, he certainly hasn't let us down. That's for sure. So for me, just having the opportunity to work with a guy of that caliber, I've been lucky to work with lots of really talented guys that are spread out through the league, that are on contracts that are pretty darn good contracts, and you know, when you see a guy with the talent he has and the passion he has, and you can be part of helping that, it's fun.
When you first took over the team, it seemed like you saw right away in him there were things you could help him with as a coach, you know, whether it's strategies or whatever within the system you want to put on that will help better his game. You could almost see that right away.
What was easy for me to see, Paul, was when I did take over the team, was that if we're going to be successful, we have to get Rasmus going. He's was one of our, if not the most talented guy when that transition happened, and you know, I was looking at any way possible, to all possibilities of making us a better hockey team, and it was pretty clear to me, you know, with some hindsight of working with lots of young guys, that this is a guy that is going to be has immense potential and the attributes of compete, hockey sense, love of the game and teammates that will give us rapid return upon some support and, you know, maybe direction, a little bit of guidance, but not a lot. I mean, he did it, so I don't want to sit here and sound like I did something great for him. He's the talent, and it was obvious that you know, some situations he was in his own head, and we just needed to free it up. And once we did, I thought he showed how much he could help us immediately, and I think everyone here saw that too.
Don, as the head coach of this team, what is your reaction to have a GM who talks about patience but actually follows through with it, and to allow a day like this to happen, but not only allow to be in a position to be able to pay a player like Rasmus when it's time, but to also still be in a good spot long term, to where you're not in a bad spot with salary cap, and there's a lot of flexibility with what the building around this group that you have.
Yeah, Kevin has done an amazing job, Kevin Adams, and before that, it would be Terry and Kim Pagula. And you know, Kevin can't do what he does without that type of support, and guidance as well. And I can't do what I do without the support of Kevin and ownership as well. So we're in a really good situation. I've worked for 6 different NHL teams, I think it is now, in different capacities, and I can tell you that that might be very simply said, but that is, you cannot do what we've done in the last couple of years, and a big part of it is being patient. You can be patient, but you also have to be persistent. And Kevin, I think, has been very persistent in the type of people we want here. There's lots of talented hockey players around the world, but we want to get the right people. And Kevin, I think, and our entire staff have been very persistent. Although we've been patient, you got to be persistent, and we have. And you know, I think this is one. You know, to have this player in Rasmus clearly state, I want to be here long term. I mean, the market's the market. He's in the market, so you can do that anywhere. but he says, I want to be right here, and that's pretty nice.
As far as the roster goes, your Zach has a spot, just, I mean, when you look at the whole package of training camp, why did he earn a spot? I know it's kind of broad.
Well, it's pretty simple now, and I've said it, so, and I don't mean to cut you off, Bill, by any means, sorry. We are very focused on winning, and we feel that, you know, what he's shown us, let's see, we think at this point, he's been very impactful. He obviously keeps up, and no problem keeping up with what's going on. And he's made lines, he's added 2 lines. So whatever line we've put him on, that line's been good. And, you know, he's been contributing. So, you know, unlike, you know, a year ago, or we knew, and 2 years ago, we knew we had to develop. I mean, yeah, you want to win. Of course you want to win. But, you know, realistically, we need to get better. And our dominant focus was on getting better. You know, now as our focus shifts to, okay, we've gotten to the point where now we have to dial in on winning. And you know, back to what I said about, now we have to be even more patient and persistent when we move into this phase, because it's a whole different world for our guys and our team. But I do think Zach, at this point, he's shown that we can keep taking looks at him. He's in our organization, and he's done well, and we'll continue to take looks at him. But he's helping us. You know, he's helping us with bottom line right now, and that's the key.
Don, does the evaluation process with him change now that it's going to be the regular season? The games are going to be tougher. It's going to be a lot more for him.
Well, definitely the game itself changes. It's totally different than preseason, and that with a player, you know, like Zach, you're curious. He's done so well in camp. You know, he's also as young as he is. We do feel, you know, as we bring players in the organization now, we're surrounding him with more stability. We didn't have any stability 2 years ago, and we really worked a lot of kinks out to become more stable through last year. But you know, we were unstable at times last season. So, you know, with greater stability, you can take on a little bit more here and there. So, you know, what that means in this situation for Zach is something we'll monitor. But, you know, he has done extremely well to this point, and we feel, you know, I feel that our players, our returning players, have supported that extremely well. He's probably got better support this year than JJ and Jack Quinn had last year, for example. It just does. Everybody's a year more experienced, a year better, a year more confident. So that's an offset. So I don't want to misrepresent the whole picture. The whole picture is that we're in a situation that Zach has played extremely well. We've also have a team that seems to be supporting him well right now, and we'll just keep monitoring and see how that goes.
Did he take you by surprise at all coming into camp, like, you know, as
Yeah.
an 18-year-old kid to do what he did?
He did. Very big surprise. Very big, pleasant surprise. Obviously, when you're picked in the first round, you sit in scouting meetings, you listen to him. I could flip on a little video and watch of him. You see how good he is, but it's against a lot of players that aren't going to play in the NHL. So you're trying to figure in your mind, okay, how is he going to pull that off when he gets around, you know, elite NHL talent? And he's still doing a lot of the things he did in junior, at least through the preseason, and even in practice, which is a good barometer too against top defensemen. You know, sometimes we match that line against some situations in practice to watch for that stuff. But yes, it's been a very pleasant surprise. You keep an open mind, but he has exceeded any thought you could have had coming in. You don't want to get too much of a thought on a guy before he comes in. You want to let him play. So he's been very impressive.